Greetings, everyone. AFC Championship week. Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV. There is Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, as always, from the Fieldhouse on this Wednesday as preparations begin in earnest for the Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium once again. Fourth time in 5 years, Sal, they played these guys in the postseason. We'll get into some of the matchup aspects, but let's talk news of the day. And again, whenever we talk on Wednesday, it's been successful for McDermott, but he has the walkthroughs, right? So you don't really learn much, but in terms of the injuries, right? What can you tell? Rapp with the hip, I guess, didn't participate. Benford, concussion protocol remains in there, and Milano dealing with some hamstring soreness. What have you been able to kind of pick up in terms of info there?
Yeah, you just read it. That's all we know. I mean, these walkthroughs on Wednesday don't provide any new information because, they're not really practicing. They call it a practice, but it's not. So when they say limited participation in a walkthrough, it literally means they're standing around, rehearsing the plays in their head or whatever. So you can't make any judgment. There are things to be concerned about here. Taylor Rapp being listed as day-to-day, obviously that's better than saying week-to-week. But, I talked to Cole Bishop a few minutes ago, and he's not tipping anything off, of course, but it sure felt like, he knows that this is a huge game Sunday, and he's probably going to have a pretty big role in it. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not speculating, but there's a possibility that he might not play. Milano, it was confirmed today that he hurt his hamstring late in that game. That's why he went off the field. Listed as limited today. Again, I just explained that doesn't really mean anything. We'll see how that goes. And then Benford with the concussion protocol, that's something obviously to worry about. Now, Ray Davis last week, Adam, as you saw, took a much bigger shot head-to-head than Christian Benford did. And Davis was able to roll right through the protocol, and he played in the game Sunday. So I hope that Benford would be on that same track. It didn't look like he got as hit hard, like I said, as Davis did. So you hope on that one because of those three. I mean, Milano is obviously a big loss, but man, Christian Benford, he is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, whether the Pro Bowl voters or the All-Pro voters want to believe it. That kid has been great all year. They have to have him in this game.
He's their best defensive player, I think.
He might be. He really might be at this stage.
I mean, so you have that, and then a rookie at safety. I mean, potentially. Yeah. Right? I mean, Rapp was in a lot of pain, right? Rapp was in a lot. My point is this. You think Andy Reid's kind of salivating putting together this game plan at the idea? And then Milano, who, of course, has dealt with hamstring that injury before, and those are fluky, as we know. Now, it's the AFC Championship game, but, I mean, that's an impactful injury, obviously. I mean, those are question marks, and that's legitimate concern.
Yeah, I mean, Milano, look, I mean, they've played so much without Matt Milano the last 2 years. It's been really nice to have him back. I thought he played really well last week when I watched the game back. He was really moving well. I think he was a big part of their blitz package last week. They don't, we know McDermott isn't a big blitzer, but they came at, I think it was about 45%, and he was a big part of that. I think he had 5 pressures. So, he's an impactful player for them. But look, Dorian Williams was playing pretty well in Milano's absence. So I think they would be okay, sliding Williams in there if Milano can't play. The other 2 spots, I mean, you're looking at Kyer Elam would have to come in and play for Benford. We know how that's gone for, 3-4 years, whatever he's been here. Hasn't been good. And then obviously Taylor Rapp goes out. They'd have to go to Bishop, and he's a rookie. Rookie going against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid calling the plays. That would be something to worry about. So those are big injuries. It's just crazy this year how all the big injuries have come on the defensive side. The offense has been almost scot-free all season. A couple guys here or there, but they have lost some big guys on defense. So maybe that's a good thing that they're able to overcome that. But the guys we're talking about here today, those are big losses if they can't play.
Yeah, I would underscore. I mean, obviously, I agree with you 1,000% on Benford and Bishop. And Milano, it has been nice to have him back. He was the one who affected Jackson on the first interception, on the Rapp interception with that pressure, had the tip ball and the 2-point conversion as well. And we all know, with a mobile quarterback, he's your spy. He moved sideline to sideline so well, and it just kind of seemed like he had gotten back to himself, So that is obviously impactful. All right, quick word from the sponsor here. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting, the largest selection on odds, everything football, NBA, NHL, college hoops, UFC. Head to BetOnline today, the website, to get in on the action. Bills and Chiefs, 6:30 p.m. Sunday, Arrowhead Stadium, AFC Championship game. And I just finished listening, as you did, to Josh Allen with his.
Actually, I was not over there. I wasn't over there for Josh. I was doing other guys because I know he'll get transcribed. So fill me in.
For sure. Okay.
What did he say?
All right. So there were two, I thought, really interesting comments from him, because a lot of times, and I understand this, I'm not being critical of Josh for this, but he it's kind of lip service, next game up, that sort of a thing, one game at a time. He got into it today, I thought, and really on 2 points. He was asked about the Chiefs' model of success and how both of these teams really have evolved. And I know this is something that we've touched on, but it was interesting to hear him talk about it. He felt as if that this year they had really taken a page out of the Chiefs' book in terms of being a ball control offense, right? And limiting the turnovers, and that, the kind of the Chiefs model. And we talked about this recently on a show on Overreaction Buffalo we were on last night, how there are some similarities in terms of the philosophical approaches these teams are taking. We've literally seen this play out with their ability to run the football, the lack of turnovers, and it's translated to success in the fact that they're in the championship game at this point, that they're able to get by Baltimore. I'm just interested in your reaction to that. It was interesting to hear Josh really admit that and articulate about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a point of emphasis since the offseason, right? I mean, they made it a conscious effort this year. And McDermott talked about it this afternoon in his press conference. He was asked about the ball security, and he said, we are as old school as any team in the league when it comes to teaching fundamentals. People don't realize that these guys are NFL players, are the best players in the world at the game of football, but fundamentals still matter. I mean, you teach fundamentals in Pop Warner in high school and all that, but it doesn't stop when you get to the pros. And the Bills, according to what McDermott was talking about earlier today, said they drill it as much as maybe any team in the league. He doesn't know for sure, obviously, but he knows they drill fundamentals. And part of that is how to protect the ball and how to take the ball away. And look at what the Bills have done. They learned their lessons, I would say, this year. They lead the league with 35 takeaways now in the playoffs, and they've only given it away 8 times. That's unbelievable. I mean, that turnover margin, I think I read somewhere in one of those stat packages, it's like one of the best maybe in the last 50 years in the NFL, like maybe 7th or 8th best in the NFL since the merger, I guess is what it was. That's crazy. I mean, that is especially when we remember how Josh Allen used to play, right? As reckless as he could be, to have him be the quarterback who has protected the ball better than any quarterback in the league is pretty impressive. So, yeah, it's a big deal that has gone into Buffalo's success this year.
All right. So, and his next comment actually kind of epitomized and crystallized the point you just made. He was asked about the goal line situation late before they kicked the field goal and being caught up and like, your eyes lit up. Were you going to pitch it?
He almost went back to 2019 Houston. Remember when he went lateral overtime?
Right. Well, guess what? He said, he admitted today in the press conference, he goes, the old Josh would have pitched the football.
Would have tried it, yeah.
He would have done it. He openly said that. And that speaks to the maturation that we have talked about. That's the different. Every player is different and how they evolve, but in particular, this one, from Hero Bowl Wyoming Josh to what has them now on the brink of going to the Super Bowl and a legitimate MVP and the turnover numbers and everything you just outlined. That's the growth and the refinement epitomized in that moment, one of the most critical of the season that defines his progress, I think.
It's funny because when that play happened, it happened in the far end zone. And as you know, where we sit in the press box, old guys like us can't even see at that end of the field. So I had no idea he was even trying that. I didn't know he'd even tried it until the next day when somebody posted a video. And I'm like, holy shit, he was going to try to lateral that. And it almost looked like he got the ball ready to go. And the Ravens saved him, because they actually kind of reacted to it. and it made him make sure he didn't do it because Cook was sitting there waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
He was waiting for that lateral. And really, the Ravens probably saved the Bills in that instance because they wrapped him up and he couldn't do it. Again. So I'm glad he thought of it. I mean, honestly, Adam, if he had gotten the lateral back there, Cook would have walked in and the game would have been over. But let's just be glad that the other thing didn't happen. So that was good.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the discord if he had done that and the Bills had fumbled? Oh my God. All the good work that Allen has done this year would have been blown up in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Undoing everything that's been done. And I think it was Elena Getzenberg from ESPN, who we've had on this show, a terrific guest and a terrific reporter. And I think she was the one who was pressing him a little bit. And she's like, well, did you think of it? Were you thinking of it? And at first he said no, but then kind of admitted that he said there were, he
just watched the video.
No. Yeah.
Just watch the video. He was thinking of it.
He said there was someone to his right, like a Ravens arm that was coming into the path that he would have had to have pitched the ball to get it to Cook. And that's when he, apparently thought better of it. I don't know. There was a little bit of ambiguity in his response. It seemed pretty obvious that
that's what I said. The Ravens saved him by actually wrapping him up and stopping him.
All right.
Would have been
so when you go back, I don't know if you record it with your, all these press conferences are emailed out.
They record it. They record it, so I'll watch it later.
Watch that back and watch the expression on his face and the whole thing as he goes through those 2 points. I thought that was pretty genuine today, and evidence of the progress this team has made. All right. Speaking of ball security and this game plan, I think we both agree that they're probably going to have to open things up a little bit Sunday at Arrowhead in terms of the pass game.
Absolutely. We talked about it already that I thought they were a little bit conservative. I understood the game plan last week. The conditions probably played a little bit into that. It was very cold. It's hard to be precise in the passing game when it's that cold. This weekend, that there won't be any excuses. It's supposed to be in the mid-30s, I think. On game day, no precipitation. I think they should go back to letting Josh Allen be Josh Allen in this game. 127 yards passing. It was good enough against the Ravens. I don't think that's going to be good enough against the Chiefs. I hope they do open things up. And I understand that, they're just not as equipped, for instance, as Kansas City is with the guys they have in their receiving core and Kelsey. The Bills just don't have those guys. But Adam, he's got to be Josh Allen. He's got to be the best player on the field in this game because the Chiefs, as we've talked about, they just have this voodoo magic. And even though their offense has not really been great this year, it's been more than good enough. They're 16-2, and they've got a very good defense. He cannot be really, I don't think, the Josh Allen we saw the other day. He's got to be better than that. And I'm not saying he played poorly the other day. That was the game plan. He did exactly what they told him to do, and it worked out fine. But I think he's got to be, the player who ran 26 yards 2 months ago over here against this team and put that game away and put himself on the MVP pedestal that night. That's the guy we need to see Sunday in this game.
Yeah, your star players, and they don't get any bigger than Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, your star players are going to have to play the starring role when you talk about winning at this point. Now, I was also struck by, and again, these are nuanced things that we kind of read into because, you talk to these guys so much, but he talked about, the appreciation that he has for this opportunity to be back and have a chance in the AFC Championship now, again, at this point in his career, and wanted to send the message to other maybe younger players in the locker room that these don't, you got to make the most of these opportunities and appreciate them and actually enjoy them because a lot of times they don't happen for a given player in their entire career. And I guess, that's, again, experience talking. And I think about the success they've had in the regular season at Arrowhead. And so along the lines of what we just talked about and them maybe needing to open it up a little bit and play more to their strengths in terms of the quarterback they have, right? I feel like the road environment in Arrowhead is not going to faze them whatsoever. I think all of what they've been through in the postseason, I think that's an important aspect of this. I mean, home field makes a difference. There's no question. They've had plenty of success, albeit during the regular season. They just seem poised now with what they've been through and how well they're executing the specifics of the game plan that these guys are drawing up, by and large, right? To be able to take that step and go win in a place like this against this team.
Absolutely. There's no reason. There's no intimidation going into Arrowhead. They've been there so many times. They know exactly what the environment's going to be. And believe me, that fan base is a great fan base. Spoiled as hell, and we all hate them, but it's a great fan base. It's very similar, in fact, to Buffalo. You go to Arrowhead Stadium, you've been there a number of times, you get the same feeling in those parking lots that you get here at Highmark Stadium, and it's the same way inside the stadium. That's a fan base that is engaged for 3 hours, 60 full minutes of game time. They're engaged the whole way, just like they are in Buffalo. So the Bills know this. They've gone in there. They've won, the last 3 times during the regular season in that building. That's not going to be an issue at all. It's going to come down to execution, playing well, being the better team on that day. That's what this game's going to come down to. McDermott was talking today about, somebody asked him, it feels like this team, the Bills, just is fearless. They have no fear of losing. And that's important when you're a good team. You can't fear losing. You can't play scared and expect to win. The Bills aren't going to play scared going into Arrowhead Stadium. They're going to play as the confident team, the team that they think is the better team. They've already proven it 2 months ago that they thought they were the better team and were. That's how they're going to go into this game Sunday. They're going to play like we are going to win the game. And why shouldn't we win the game? That's the attitude they have.
Yep. And that you can have that mindset. Mindset's one thing, right? But then you look at examples and experience and all of those things. And that's the evolution of the head coach, I think it's fair to say. And it's certainly the evolution of the quarterback. And it's definitely the evolution of the way this roster has been built and moving on from Diggs and the balance and the offensive coordinator. And it all kind of fits together and presents itself in the form of this opportunity. Last point I wanted to bring up with you here, because we're going to get into really more of the X's and O's of this matchup later in the week. And I'm going to take kind of a roundabout course in getting to this. But because you and I have both covered this team for so long, I think do you remember I think this was after the Patriots had won their first Super Bowl, late season game, Bills-Patriots, Orchard Park. Nate Clements hit on Tom Brady on the bootleg, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a YouTube classic. And I remember, as an aside, sitting with Ed Kilgore, who was sports director at Channel 2 at the time. And Brady, after Clements went up and just blasted him, knocked his helmet off and everything. As hard a hit as I've seen a quarterback take, right? Clements, former first-round pick, Ohio State. Brady puts his helmet back on and goes back in the huddle, and they go ahead and win the game, the Patriots do, late. Yeah. And I remember saying, add that to the list of things that makes this guy appear really special, and boy, was that ever true in Brady's case. Fast forward to now, and I feel like, can you imagine, like the way these quarterbacks are protected now, and I'm getting to the officiating point with Mahomes and everything. I mean, in the span of however many years that is, and Brady, of course, had such an influence on it as his career progressed. But can you believe the crap that we've seen in terms of, that was some of the worst. And Mahomes, and they're manipulating this now. These mobile quarterbacks, when they're on the run, I mean, I think the pendulum swung too far.
Yeah. I mean, if Nate Clements delivered that hit on Patrick Mahomes today, he would have been penalized 45 yards probably. They would have taken 15 and times it by 3. That's how vicious that hit was, right?
Right.
Look, Mahomes is a great player. There's no denying that. But he has become the face of the officiating problem in the NFL. I think they have gone so far overboard with protecting these quarterbacks, and I understand that these are the money guys, right? This is how the NFL makes the majority of its money, with their superstar quarterbacks in big games like this. I get all that, and you want them on the field. I know there were years, several years ago, when these quarterbacks were dropping like flies, and we're watching these lousy backups week after week, and that's what went into a lot of this incredibly overprotection of quarterbacks. And yeah, it has helped them stay on the field, but it's also kind of screwed up the game of football, because they're literally playing touch football with the quarterbacks. And Mahomes has figured out the exact way to manipulate it, and he's got them eaten out of the palm of his hand. The play the other day against the Texans, when he was scrambling around and then he got out of the pocket and was a runner. He could have gone out of bounds very easily and taken the yardage. He purposely stayed in bounds, kind of did a two-step or whatever until the Texans got over there. Then he fell to the ground. The two guys crash into each other, and somehow, because the official heard the loud crack, they assumed that it was Mahomes getting hit. He didn't even get touched, and they call a penalty. That's what I'm talking about. It's gone way beyond of control. And look, the guy here in Buffalo, Josh Allen, love him all you want, but he also embellishes. And he's drawn a couple, maybe more than a couple, really questionable late hit calls. And a lot of these quarterbacks are learning that that's how you do it. It's frustrating. It's got to be, I don't know how you play defense in the NFL. I don't know how you cover in the passing game in the NFL because they call the most unbelievable defensive holding, pass interference. It's just crazy. And then if you're a tackling player going after a quarterback, I just don't know how you play defense in the NFL. It's maddening to watch. Mahomes then, you've seen him do it too. He'll run down the sideline and defenders will say, okay, I can't hit him. So they just kind of run. And then he doesn't go out of bounds and he scoots 15, 20 more yards because he knew the guy wasn't going to hit him. He just knows how to manipulate it. He's very good at it. But the NFL this offseason, Adam, they've got to go back and look at this. They've got to find a way to govern this a little better because he can't keep getting away with it. And these defenders can't keep getting penalized. I mean, call the obvious stuff. And if you don't think it's obvious, then use the replay assist to figure out if it was the right call or not. They got to change this. Yeah.
I get having to protect the assets, right? I certainly get the concussion issue and the helmet to helmet contact. But you can't, especially in the era now of these mobile quarterbacks, you can't have, aside from like the approach a defender takes to tackling, he can't afford a split-second hesitation, or it's not fair to have that guy second guess when you're pursuing and angling toward a Patrick Mahomes on the sideline in a playoff game with a game on the line. Yeah. You can't. He's got to be able to play football. The guy's a runner. So it has to evolve and be addressed 100%. It's absolutely gone too far. All right.
I was shocked the other day. The Bills could have gotten penalized for tackling Jackson out of bounds. I was shocked they didn't throw a flag, but I was expecting the flag because that actually was a penalty. He had gone across the sideline marker, and I forget who it was, who literally tackled him into the Ravens bench. They didn't call it. If that was Patrick Mahomes, I'm pretty sure that would have been called, right? And Brady back in the day, it would have gotten called. So there's some kind of double standard with some of these guys, and I just wish they would fix it because it really is hurting the game.
Yeah, and I hope that, Sunday in a critical, because we know you feel like it's going to come down to a fourth quarter situation or whatever, that one of these calls doesn't significantly impact the outcome in what should be a very special game, AFC Championship, Bills and Chiefs on Sunday. Much more as we continue during the week here in Believe in Bills. Sal Maiorana, coverage in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. I am Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV. Sports Talk Live, Monday nights, 7 o'clock on Channel 2. Thanks for being with us here on Believe in Bills.